To all who come to this happy podcast, welcome. This is Planning the Magic, where we discuss all things Disney vacation planning. I'm Jake.
And I'm Alma. Today we have a very special guest with us who's here to discuss a fun topic and something we've already been touching on in previous episodes, Disney World versus Disneyland. So welcome to the podcast, Cole Manning, also known as Bibbidi.Bobbidi.Beard. Cole, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on, you guys.
We really appreciate you being here. You want to just take a minute, kind of introduce yourself and your background and what got you started as a Disney influencer?
Yeah, so I'm one of those people that was late to the game. Started on TikTok, trying to do a little bit more on everything now. Started in middle of the pandemic, right after my wife and I moved back down to Florida. We met in school in Tampa, and that's when we actually became annual pass holders. We'd always been Disney fans, but I got us annual passes for her birthday one year, and we've just been pass holders ever since. And we moved away for a little while, but then realized we were coming back and visiting Disney like once a month. So we, during the pandemic, made the decision to move back. The timing was right, just with jobs and everything like that, with positions unfortunately ending. So we moved back, and I started doing Disney social media because really there wasn't much to do during the pandemic, and I met a couple friends through it that way. And when the parks reopened, the people that we started going to the parks with and hanging out with just were people that we met through TikTok and Instagram, and it just kind of took off from there. Never tried to or intended to, but we're just kind of riding the Disney wave as long as we can.
That's awesome. It seems like there's a really good network or community with, Disney influencers on TikTok. And I know when I met you last month in Disneyland, you were with a whole group of them. And it seems like everyone's so supportive of each other and just really this nice kind of tight-knit community.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of my best friends are people that we met through TikTok, both here locally and then out in California. That it's just anytime we go out there. I mean, these are people that through TikTok and the community and the people I've met. I met people that helped me paint my house when we moved in. People that helped me clean out our old apartment. I've crashed on people's couches. We've let people crash on our couches. Helped people move. It's just been a real close-knit family that a lot of it people don't even actually see. I think most of the time we're just meeting up in the parks, or that's really the extent of the relationship. But I mean, a lot of the people that I consider my best friends are people that we met through this community.
Yeah, I absolutely love the Disney community. There's so many people that you meet. Once they figure out you're in the Disney bubble, then, the conversation starts.
Absolutely.
How often are you in the parks, both Disney World and Disneyland?
So this year has been an anomaly. I think I've been to Disneyland more than I've actually been to Disney World. For the most part, my wife and I are weekend people for Disney World. We'll go on Saturday and Sunday, or sometimes during the week. Our parks aren't as easy with going between parks, so it's typically just going to Epcot for dinner or something like that. Maybe going to the parks for an hour or so. But just the nature of the amount of trips I've had where I'm literally going into the parks at Disneyland, because when I'm out there, it's like, hey, I'm going to go every single day I can, or I'm there on a trip, so I'm going every single day. I think if I really added up the days, since I had a few longer trips this year for work, I may have been in Disneyland more days than I've been in Disney World this year. But yeah, we're mostly just sometimes during the week, but mostly just the weekend.
So you say you have a pretty good grasp on the differences between Disney World and Disneyland then?
I think I'm getting there with how much I've been there this year. I still, and people make fun of me for this, I have a firm grasp on DCA. I still get a little lost if I'm trying to go to some of the back parts of Disneyland, because last time I was there, I was live and I was trying to go meet Megan, the Magical Millennial, in Batu, and somehow I ended up at Small World. We're not going to talk about how I ended up there, but I still somehow managed to get lost in Disneyland in that back corner. But other than that, I feel like I got a pretty good grasp on it now.
I feel like Magic Kingdom and Disneyland are pretty similar on the map, so it's really easy to get confused because some things are the same and some things are very, very different. So I can understand how you got lost there.
Yeah, I was gonna say in Magic Kingdom, I always feel turned around compared to Magic Key holder at Disneyland, so I'm so used to the Disneyland park, and then it's like, Dumbo's way in some back corner, and it's I'm always getting turned around there.
Yep.
So, well, let's get into it. Let's figure out the differences between Disneyland and Disney World, and not necessarily which one is better, but just kind of, or maybe our favorites in each little category, and go from there. So, I think ride, since we're already talking about it, is a pretty good place to start. Maybe talking about some of the similarities, but then also some of the differences. The rides that are the same, and then the unique rides to each park.
Yeah. I think it's an even balance, because even if you just look at the rides that are the same, because they're not, a lot of them aren't exactly the same. Like your Small World is way more elegant from the outside than ours. Ours, most people don't even realize they're walking past it, and everything. But then there are rides like Jungle Cruise. I know a lot of people from Disneyland, they think that our Jungle Cruise is better because we have the cave, and you guys don't have any of that. But then also, speaking of caves, your Pirates has the whole cave system and is twice as long as ours. It's a personal favorite of my wife and mine. With it just being a much longer ride, Pirates of the Caribbean and all that is my wife's favorite franchise, besides 101 Dalmatians from Disney. So that's a must do ride for us. Um, Other similarities, and even some small things like Tiki Room. That's another favorite of ours. You guys have a longer sing along than ours, but other than that, they're pretty similar, except for maybe the layout of the rooms and everything, or the waiting area. Like we don't have Dole Whip at our, like, in our Tiki Room waiting area, things like that. So honestly, I think if you were to go down what you can compare side by side, the Disneyland and Magic Kingdom essentially are pretty comparable, where it's just a toss up on, like, okay, Disneyland wins this one, Disney World wins this one, Disneyland wins this one. But then obviously you have a lot more crammed into Disneyland than we do. They definitely kind of were a little bit more sparing with what they put in Magic Kingdom, knowing they were going to build more parks out here. But I mean, overall, I comparing just those two parks, I give it to Disneyland. I just, the original park, there's something about it, and a lot of the differences do seem better out in Disneyland.
Which is a little surprising considering it's the older of the two parks. But it's like riding Space Mountain and Pirates, like you said. They're longer and just seem a little bit more involved, I guess, than in Magic Kingdom in Florida. So
Well, you guys also do more with your rides, like Hyperspace Mountain. You guys bring that
right,
back from time to time. We don't really do that. And then, I mean, the biggest one is the holiday overlay for Haunted Mansion. We don't do anything like that. Turning that whole ride, basically changing that into a Nightmare Before Christmas ride, is so impressive. And it's little things like that of, like, why aren't we doing that as well? That definitely, for me, make Disneyland better than the Magic Kingdom, at least.
Yeah, and definitely the overlay on Small World as well during the Christmas time. Disneyland really does those special features much better than Disney World, I think, as well.
well, let's talk about one of my favorite subjects now, food, because that's half the reason to go to the parks, right? So there's some great food options in Disneyland, some great food options in Disney World too. Which would you say, I guess, again, getting back to better, I guess is the right way to put it, but where's your favorite snacks between the two parks?
So it's honestly a little hard to say, because, like, I don't, being local here, I don't tend to eat as much in the parks outside of, like, festivals, and that's almost strictly in Epcot. So I'm right off the bat, I have to say I give it to Disneyland. There is more food that I will get in Disneyland than I'd say I'd ever get in Magic Kingdom, but part of the difficulty comes then in breaking it down. Like, okay, well, Disneyland and DCA versus the four parks here. I still say those two parks have better food. I feel like there's more. We have more restaurants, but if I'm just talking like park snacks and stuff that I can get while I'm in the park, and not going to a dining reservation, I say that Disneyland and DCA win in the snacks category. But that's also because of the real estate. You have more quick service snack type locations than our parks do, because they really capitalized on those sit down experiences in all four of our parks, more so when they built out here. So they definitely take the cake there. Your churro game is unmatched. Ours aren't fresh like yours are. We definitely don't have a bunch of specialty ones every couple months. Every single time I feel like we come to Disneyland, there's new churros, and that's just something we don't really experience here. I'd love to experience that here. We are about ready to tie you guys up with those corn dogs, because we are getting the blue ribbon. That is a must for me as well, on our trips. And then there's just little things that you guys do, like the stuff that's at Jolly Holiday, or the refreshment port right there with the Firefly chips. Those are a personal favorite of mine. Me and my wife like spice, but yeah, snack wise, Disneyland and especially DCA just kind of take the cake.
Yeah, I think in one of our previous episodes we mentioned, if you want spicy food, Disney World is not the place to find it. If you're looking for a little bit more flavor, heading out to California where it's a little bit more of the locals park, that's typically where you're going to find that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely on the flavor end. I think California has it because I feel Walt Disney World's a little bit more gentle on their seasoning, so I'm not experiencing a lot of flavor there. And yeah, Disneyland definitely has the churro game. I don't know what Disney World does with their churros. You say they're not fresh.
Yeah, so ours are brought. We don't have the same. You guys have the little like warming, like the no kidding little oven that you put it in and it goes through and then it kicks it out. Ours don't have that. Ours are put. They're already like pre-done and they're kind of just hung in the same thing that like pretzels and stuff are. And they're just not as good. It's not the same company either, I believe. And because that's just one of those differences that's long standing since the parks were separate, like separately run up until a decade ago or so. So it's just one of those things that hasn't been able to transition. I guess that company doesn't operate this far east, just like how Blue Ribbon didn't until they just decided to expand. So I'd like to see the parks become more similar to one another in some of those areas. But then going into the next question, as far as sit down, I have to give sit down to Disney World. We just have a far superior amount of sit down options, and even just Epcot alone. Some of the restaurants we have there, or anytime that they revamp or change a resort, Topolino's at our newest at Riviera. It just not only is it an incredible view, but that the food there is incredible. I'm a personal favorite is going to the Italian restaurant in Epcot. Which a little fun fact about there, I don't know if they still do it, or I don't know if there's been a situation where they can't. But one thing that someone told me there on our first visit is they have pizza ovens, which is the brick fire pizza ovens, and there's 3 openings that look almost kind of like a Greek god with his mouth open. And above them, they have named all 3 of the different of the volcanoes that are in Italy. And when we were there was only one of them that was lit, and the server told us that they only light the oven that correlates with an active volcano in Italy, because those 3 volcanoes transition so often between what is classified as active that they will only light the ovens for which ones are currently active. And I mean, I've been in there at times where all 3 of them are lit. I've been in there at times where only one of them is lit. But it has changed over the years. But it's just one of those cool little those attentions to details with like the sit down restaurants, that I don't think Disneyland ever really put a focus on. Like things like Blue Bayou are great, and trying to think what other full on qualifies as sit down I've done there besides Blue Bayou. I can't think of a whole lot, but yeah, I don't think they're
Well, there's
yeah,
not a
I don't
whole
think they're
lot.
comparable.
Yeah.
Not even close. Alma, you're gonna tell your son about the, she was saying her son loves natural disasters. I was talking about wanting to go to Pompeii, so he'll love that volcano
Yeah.
fact.
That is such a cool fact and something that I had no idea about. So thank you for bringing that
Yeah.
to light.
You can go to the parks 100 times and learn something new every time, it feels like. There's so many little details like that that they focus on that I love. It's one of the things that makes it fun to go, like, so often. So, you mentioned you and your wife, sometimes just go for dinner. Where's your go-to spot for dinner?
When so our go-to spot in like that I think we go to more than anything else or take people to more than anything isn't actually even in the parks. It's in Disney Springs. And that's Art Smith's Homecoming, which is a southern style restaurant that we have, and it's just incredible southern food. They got like chicken and donuts. They've got braised beef that's incredible. They switch out some mac and cheese. There is phenomenal. It's just probably our biggest go to outside of festivals, because with Epcot, unlike with DCA, Epcot has become basically just a year round festival where we'll only have like a 2 week break between festivals now. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be that we'd have like Flower and Garden for like a month or two, and then there'd be a few months until Food and Wine started. Now it's like they keep turning them right around. So a lot of times we will go to Epcot. Since the festivals are so long, it gives us plenty of time to try everything. So we'll just go to Epcot on a weeknight and try a booth or two, share some things, and work our way around festival over the months that it's there.
Speaking of festivals, I'd love to know your favorite festival, and do you have a favorite food item or drink from one of the booths?
So favorite food, it comes and goes because we one don't always have the booth, and then two they've changed it a couple times. But one of my favorite things is, and they brought it back this year, is the Australia booth for the Food and Wine Festival. They have a lamb that has like a chimichurri on top with like crushed potato chips, and it's just on the bone, and it's just a great help portion size and just um a delicious food from the Food and Wine that every time they bring that back I'm so happy. Before that there was like a beef skewer that they haven't done this booth in like 4 or 5 years now, but the Patagonia booth, that was probably the most incredible thing I'd ever had at a festival, and I still wish they would bring that back. But the lamb from Australia is definitely a personal festival favorite that is recurring. Some of our booths they will have whenever they have that booth, or if they have that one every year, they'll have at least one thing like you're never not going to have the filet mignon at Canada. They have that at every single thing, every single festival. What it comes with, like whether it's potatoes or something different, might change, but that's a consistent park favorite. And but my personal favorite festival is actually the Festival of the Arts. I like buying stuff. I have lots of stuff, and the art festival just has a lot of vendors that have some incredible artwork. And that one's a shorter festival in January every year, so it's just really cool to see what kind of artwork is brought to that festival every year.
Yeah, I love the street art during that festival too, like the ones that are fully
Yeah,
three-dimensional where it looks like it's hard to describe what I'm visualizing, but it's really neat.
yeah, with the long drawn out art that when you stand in the right place, it looks like it's in a three-dimensional space. Yeah, those are really cool to see whenever they do
Yeah.
those as well.
Yeah, so since we're doing a comparison, episode, have you done the food and wine at DCA?
We have. Um, it's I don't quite know if I could compare it to our Food and Wine. I feel like it's more like size wise and everything comparable, like Flower and Garden, but it as far as dishes that we absolutely loved in comparison to dishes we absolutely love at any of our festivals here, DCA's Food and Wine is incredible. The holiday festival is really good too. It just kind of goes back to that flavor profile that just Disneyland and that coast just does food better than Florida does. So um, it DCA, I think any DCA festival kind of wins for me. I'm also just might be a little biased for DCA. It's definitely my favorite of the two parks out there. And just but if we're there when a festival's going on, it's even better.
Yeah, I especially love the hot buttered rum at the holiday festival at DCA. I drink that every night. And, it starts to cool down, and yeah, that's my go to drink. I love it. You talk about the filet mignon though in Epcot. That's my I've been saying for a while now. That's the best steak I've ever had. It's amazing. Love that one.
Yeah, for a walk up, a couple dollars, get a little mini steak. It's delicious.
Well, talking kind of transitioning from like festivals, kind of just going on some other entertainment in the parks and some of the kind of non-ride things they have, like the parades and fireworks and all that. Obviously, thing we kind of haven't mentioned is obviously with Disney World, there's twice as many parks, so there's going to be more to see. But I feel like in DCA, especially, you got World of Color, which is an amazing, spectacular show. Um, but both parks do it pretty well. But do you have a favorite between all the parks and their nighttime events?
With what's going on right now, Disneyland wins. The parade is probably I've never been a parade person. I watch that parade multiple times when I'm there on trips this year. I love the music they picked. That Moana float is probably one of the coolest things with the digital displays on it. Just the floats, all of them are incredible. But the Moana one specifically just kind of stands out to me. And then things like having like Sword in the Stone and just a little bit more representation of not the big name classic Disney movies. And then speaking of that, in the show, Treasure Planet is my personal favorite. So actually seeing not only Treasure Planet, but seeing Treasure Planet, Atlantis, having Baymax fly over the park. I know the push with Big Hero 6 that's been going on out at Disneyland, and DCA especially, about ready to have San Francisco, that bringing that into a higher popularity. Just that I was so excited when they announced that show. I avoided anyone's live streams, anyone's videos, because I know a bunch of people were like trying to post about it. I'm like, I don't want to see it. I want to see Baymax. I want to see this for myself. I usually don't avoid that kind of stuff. I'll just like, if I see it, I see it. It's going to be better in person anyways. But I avoided stuff to be able to see that. So I think Disneyland is absolutely winning right now. And then as far as shows go too, like there are some that are similar, like Fantasmic, which rest in peace to yours right now. But ultimately, like with that, I think our show is better because we have additional things with like the princesses and like with that they added like Elsa and Moana. There are a few random parts of the storyline though in the beginning that ours misses that yours doesn't, that I think helps tell a more coherent story, which I wish ours would do. But then I mean, like Murphy was far superior than ours. Ours isn't really. I can't even call ours a dragon. It's a head on a stick. If you ever get to see it from a side angle and truly know what our dragon is, but there are some things that Disney World does good, but I don't think they do them nearly on the same level as Disneyland.
I do
Harmonious
think
was great,
yes.
but it's gone now.
I do think just from a viewing perspective or viewing standpoint, Disney World is so much, because it's so much more open and so much bigger, especially like the fireworks by the castle. There's so much more room to see the fireworks. And then at Fantasmic, you actually have the, arena or stands there as opposed to just camping out on the sidewalk. I think that Disney World in that area at least takes the cake for me.
Oh yeah, there's as far as if we're talking just about like viewing, if we step away from the actual no kidding shows themselves, viewing no contest at Disney World. I may love the shows at Disneyland, but anytime there's a show or parade going on, it is a huge pain to get anywhere. If you're not on the backside of the park, and even when the parade's going on, if you are on the backside, it is still a struggle to get anywhere. And then I know in DCA we were there for food. We were there for one of the festivals earlier this year, and there was a parade going on, and it just I was getting food from one of the booths right there in front of like Cars Land and Avengers Campus, and a parade was going on, and they just stopped. They're like, we're not serving anything. The line's not moving, and the line just stopped for the entire parade because it's such a tight space that they could not have people walking up to the window. And I'm just like, this is not good. Why do you have a parade going on during this festival? Like, have the parade run before the booths open at 11, and maybe close the booths a little early and do one more parade in the evening. But I mean, you just completely handicapped all of these booths along this walkway. But yeah, when it comes to that, yeah, our parks aren't handicapped at all when shows are going on. Except maybe getting in to Magic Kingdom. Like if you're trying to walk down Main Street right before a fireworks show starts, but that's literally it. Once you get past Main Street, you're on the sides, you're fine. Every single ride, every single attraction you can get to without a problem. So in that capacity, yeah, Disney World wins. They definitely figured out their crowd issues when they built our parks.
I think that really has a lot to do with the size. I think they said like how many Disneyland parks can fit into just the parking lot. Does anybody know that fact?
Uh, I don't know how many is a few, but I do know like the one thing too is like all of Magic Kingdom can fit just inside the safari ride at Animal Kingdom. Like when you start talking about size, like our parks just get bigger and
Yeah.
bigger, have more and more space. And I think someone told me the other day they haven't even developed like 50% of what they own property wise. Most of it's still just swamp and trees.
Yeah, I think I read that the whole Disney World property is more square acreage than Manhattan. So it's just this
Yeah.
massive, massive property, whereas Disneyland is just kind of tucked into the city there. They, had to fight and claw just to build DCA, I know.
Oh, actually, because I'm good friends with Jungle Skipper, who's just a walking book of facts and everything. Actually, made me quite mad when he told me, but I don't know if you knew, but he told me the history of DCA and why they have sections like the Pacific Wharf because they were going to no kidding build it down in Newport on the beach, and it was going to be a coastal park away from Disneyland and everything. And then like something happened with once like city council got wind that it was like Disney or something like that, they jacked up prices and made it impossible for them to build there. But I'm just like, that would have been so cool because they were going to build essentially what Tokyo Disney Sea is that was the original idea for DCA. And then when that didn't happen, they even just kind of gave the idea to Japan, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! Like that would have been incredible.
That would have been awesome, yeah. Especially, tying into like the boardwalk lifestyle down there in Southern California. And yeah,
Yep.
that would have been really cool.
Yeah, they really struggle with restrictions there. I know they were trying to recently build a new property, and they had to kibosh that idea because of the city. So, I mean, they're under a lot of constraints there. So, I don't think there's much potential for growth. The growth is at Disney World for sure.
Well, we kind of touched on festivals, but kind of transition from that into some of the holiday events. So, especially coming up, I know Oogie Boogie Bash. We just had the whole kerfluffle with buying tickets for that, but uh, you know, you got the Oogie Boogie Bash at Disneyland, and then or at California Adventure, and then Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party in Disney World. Have you been to both?
I've been to both. I've done our Christmas party a few times. I've done our Halloween party once. And I will say I have Oogie Boogie tickets for this year. I do not have Not So Scary. Um, yeah, I got them first day. I
Congratulations.
waited an hour and I'm like, there's not going to be any tickets left. And then after I got mine and then watched what happened the rest of the day, the next day, Monday this week, I'm just like, I feel so bad for how I felt initially. Like, apparently, I waited an hour, but I guess I was one of the first people in with the way it went for most everyone else. Um, but yeah, we don't really do our festivals here. On and it might all just be kind of, and this is my personal opinion. I know a number of our friends feel this way too, but it's not the general consensus. But just Magic Kingdom is our most time consuming park to go to, just because you have to go to the transportation ticket center and then you have to get on a ride there into the park, and it's it's more separation from the others. Or you go to Epcot and you take the monorail from there, and then you take the monorail from the transportation center. It just takes a long time to get there, so it's just not, unless you're specifically going there for something, it's our least visited park for us as pass holders. So then the thought of spending extra money on top of what we already pay for our passes for that park, it's just not super appealing to us. And there's not a lot that we do different. Like your guys is, I mean, Oogie Boogie was incredible. We actually made the mistake. It was our first time going to it, along with a couple other Disney World creators, and we misunderstood where the characters were, and we went and waited in the long line for whatever goes on over in that area by Grand Cal, where it's just like a walking trail of like lights and smoke. We thought the characters were all back in there, and that's why there was a long line, and we didn't realize till like we were in there. And so we didn't see all the characters. We got out of there, ran and saw a bunch, but like even the parade and stuff at Oogie Boogie was incredible. And just you guys character meets. That's just something that's a whole nother level there. And I know like the logic that people say is like yours is more of a local park, ours is tourists and tourists from other countries, and so not understanding you can't like touch characters or you can't just do whatever is the logic there. I don't see that. I mean, there's still tourists that go to your park as well. I don't know why we don't have the level of character interactions that Disneyland has. It's almost like Disneyland's overcompensating with the characters for not having more to offer, but we still want the characters as well. I'd love for us to have more, and we're starting to do a little bit better about it. We have quote unquote rare character sightings now and stuff, but I just wish we'd have characters and more in general. But that's what I think makes your guys' stuff better. We now added Jollywood Nights though. I don't know at Hollywood. We bought tickets for that just because it's new and it's different. And Hollywood Studios is one of my favorites here, so we'll see how that is. But I wish we had like nights like what you guys have, like Pride Night, Star Wars Night, all of that. That's something that I really wish we had here, and we actually got to meet. This is just part of the whole um, being an influencer kind of thing. Is that through talking with some other people, got to meet like the main person that does that out there. Who's responsible for that for the Walt Disney Company. Um, Out there in California, and I'm like, you need to talk to whoever your counterpart in Florida is, if they even exist, because like we need these like Star Wars night and stuff. Like, come on.
Well, and I mean, especially with so many more parks, it almost makes more sense to do it out there because, when you have something at DCA, you're shutting down 50% of your capacity there for, everybody else just filters into the one park. Whereas, Jollywood nights, well, people that don't have tickets that, can filter out to the other three parks, but it's a lot more impactful in Disneyland, it feels like.
That's like my whole argument out here. I don't know why we don't do it, because also our parks close earlier than yours. I mean, Magic Kingdom is back to a point that it's open till 11 on some nights and everything like that. But I mean, for the most part, since reopening, our parks close at like 8 or 9, and it's been that way almost the whole way through. So even just if that's the way that they keep it out here, having a couple nights a week or even one night a week where for a couple nights for you to close one park an hour early and just keep it open longer for just the nights that you have that extra hour event going on, you're not even really closing that park down. Like if it starts at 7 and you were going to close at 9, but you decide during those nights that the park's open until midnight, it's just like you close 2 hours early, and there's three other parks, and then there's the massive Disney Springs complex for people to go to. Like you're not really. I don't know why it's not anything that's hindering tourists. It's probably something I personally think would bring more tourists to them. But I wish Disney World would do those nights. I don't know why they don't.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Disneyland does those extra evenings during like low season times. Is that right, to draw in more
I
people?
wouldn't know what your low seasons
Or
are,
is it
but I mean, I think that's right. And I mean, we have low seasons as well. I don't. I again, I don't know why they're not, because even if they do them at different times, like the company is all the Walt Disney Company now. They're not separate. So those characters, those costumes, they exist. Yeah, you're gonna have to figure out different casts out here, or even if it's cheaper than doing the whole audition process and training process, to just say, hey, you who does this at Disneyland for us for 3 nights for this performance, do you want to go to Disney World for a week and do it for 3 nights out there? They'd probably say sure. And then the cost to fly them out there, and even just keep them in college housing, in the college program housing. Like there's no real cost to Disney to do something like that. And I'm sure their performers would be all for that. I mean, I know performers out here that are doing internships in Shanghai and in Hong Kong and stuff like that because they can. And those are long term things. So I'm sure they could get someone to come out here for 3 days to keep doing a character for a little longer.
Well, and if there's one thing we've learned about Disney too, they don't have a problem selling out anything they do. Any event they have, it's it's become so, especially post pandemic now, the crowd levels are so much higher, and they wouldn't have any problem if they wanted to do anything like that out at Disney World.
Well, Disney World does have some after-hour events, though, and those are pretty popular, but I can't see why they can't turn some of those into those, themed sort of event nights.
Yeah. Like, yeah, we have Glow Nights, and Glow Nights is incredibly popular with our water park. And then we have more. There are things for like cast members and stuff. They have after hour things for cast member appreciation, which is great. I'm glad we at least do that. But yeah, outside of the Halloween and Christmas party, we don't have any of those just kind of those party nights, like anything that's just called like Pride Night, Star Wars Night. And definitely wish it was something that we would expand upon out here. Because we have 4 parks, it would be very easy to start doing that. I mean, Star Wars Night in Hollywood Studios, you could have. You could even just pick different parks to do them. As like Sweethearts Night could be in Magic Kingdom. You could do Pride Night in Epcot if you wanted to. Like, there's all kinds. Like, you don't even have. They don't even have to be in one park. You can pick the same things that you've been doing, and do them in. Or one idea that we have is like do Sweethearts Night in Epcot, where you got something set up almost like it's a festival, where there's little like date around the world kind of thing instead of drink around the world. Like, there's all kinds of options. I don't know why they don't capitalize.
Well, hopefully they'll
I mean, if anybody high up is listening.
say the same thing. Yeah. Push it out to them. Well, I think the last thing we wanted to go over real quick is some Genie Plus strategies between the two parks. If you have any good tips and what your go-to moves are and strategies in especially Disney World.
Unfortunately, I don't use Genie Plus,
Okay.
so I can't really
All right,
I
no
can't
worries.
really give any. I do not use it for anything. I don't even know how it fully works. It was confusing when it came out. I've got a couple friends that tried explaining some things about it, but I will say, just like park strategy and everything, we're getting a lot better with like our new rides too. Like Tron took a lot of the pressure off of Cosmic Rewind, which is a fan favorite. I was actually at the parks and this is a season, like we're in a down season right now, so it's not how it's always going to be. But I walked into Epcot at like 5 p.m. and got a boarding group from the 1 p.m. drop. Like, they weren't completely gone from the virtual queue. So there are things like that, but as far as like park strategies go, if you're coming out to Disney World and you want to do all 4 parks, if you're a Disneyland local, I don't think you need more than 1 day to do Magic Kingdom. That's the only park that I would tell anyone that they need 2 days to do if they're a tourist, just because of how long the ride lines are. But if you're a Disneyland local and you're just your first time to Disney World, there's a lot of similarities that and stuff that you probably will avoid or won't feel the need to do. So if you're a local, I'd say you only need 1 day for Magic Kingdom. If you're not, I'd say 2 days. I definitely recommend our park hopper just because of those hours as well. Because things like Animal Kingdom's an all-day park for locals, and I tell other people you should do it all day, but there are plenty there are plenty of people that don't see it that way, and you could do everything of any importance or value if you rope drop by 2 p.m. and then go on to another park. Um, it's definitely one of the parks to take it easy in. And I don't think you need more than a day for Epcot or Hollywood Studios either. Um, I would just look. The best advice if you're going to use Genie Plus is in the days before you go. I would just take a look at, or even the months before you go, just regularly look at the wait times and see what on average looks significantly higher. And if you're going to spend that extra money, buy the things that you saw high wait times for. A lot of things though, they're manageable. I don't know if Disneyland does this. I know our park does. They inflate the wait times a little bit to try to get you to go to some other rides that have lower wait times, but they're all on average it's 10 or 15 minutes less than what it shows. So if you see a ride that's 30 minutes, you may not even want to wait in a 30-minute ride line. You're not going to wait 30 minutes. It usually goes by pretty quickly. Um, and then just overall tips, make sure you bring a lot of water or fans here. This is a whole nother monster out here. Get one of those neck fans or the cooling towels. Come prepared. I know a lot of people look at me and think I'm crazy because I wear long sleeves year round, but I'm used to it. I live here. It's 95 out right now. I'm wearing a hoodie it's like 80 in my house. Like I'm fine. Um, but that's probably my biggest advice for people coming out here is come prepared for the heat because it's hot all year round. That's another reason we like going to Disneyland. I swear every time I've come there this year, it gets down to like the 50s at night. That does not happen here. It does not get any cooler when the sun goes down. Sometimes it gets worse. So you get a lot of humidity and it just you feel sticky once the sun goes down. So the sun going down is not always a relief out here.
I never feel prepared enough for the Florida weather. We're heading out in August as a family. Last sort of summer trip I did was in July, and it was like surface of the sun hot. I couldn't even snack. That was the worst thing. I didn't have an appetite. It's too hot.
It's still really hot in August. It's not as
Yeah.
bad as July, but not by a lot. So, I definitely recommend like those neck fans that blow straight up. Those things in the middle of summer are really helpful.
I actually have a fear unlocked from those neck fans. Have you heard of horror stories of your like long hair getting
Well,
stuck in the fan?
not the one with the actual the ones with the no kidding fans. I mean, those are nice because you can direct them at you. But there are ones that are just like a collar that blow it straight up at you that your hair can't get caught in because it's just like it just looks like. So I'd look at one of those ones. I have one of those ones as well as because yeah, with the beard I have the fan ones. If I turn too much one time, I'll hear a little zzz sound as it's chopping off some hairs. I'm like, nope, we're not doing that anymore. So I got rid of that one. I've just got a neck one now that it's just kind of built into it, and it shoots air out and up.
Very nice. The other thing I was going to say too is, I'm from the Seattle area, and so I felt like I was used to rain, like no big deal when it started raining in Florida, and I was walking through Epcot one day and it started raining. Everybody's running for cover, and I thought, I'm from Seattle, this is fine, and I'm already a little wet. I can't get any wetter, right? And then I found out I could, and walking through 2 feet of water when those afternoon rain showers come. So that's the other.
Yep, monsoon season. It'll be a clear sky and you'll get dumped on. You'll get dumped on while the sun is out. That's another thing people don't think out here. They're like, oh, well, there's clouds in the sky, but the sun's still out. No, it will rain on you while the sun's out. Like the sky's not going to go completely dark on you. And if the sky does go completely dark on you, it's going to be even worse than you could imagine. So it's just, yeah, we've definitely been caught in some pretty intense ones before. I think one of our worst ones was right after reopening in the summer. It in like August timeframe. It really was like a torrential downpour. That like where we were, it was flooding. We were by one of the little kiosks that hadn't reopened because it was still phased reopening. So they had just little kiosks that are usually like popcorn or snack stands that just weren't open. And we literally like hid behind one of those, and there was like a bucket from something that I know my mom turned upside down and just stood on top of this like 5 gallon bucket so she wasn't in like a foot of water. I was like, just the things I was like, I never thought I'd be doing in a Disney park is standing on top of a bucket to not get completely washed away.
So I think like the comparison with weather, Florida's a little bit more dramatic than California.
Oh yeah, yeah. Go to. I tell people go to California first. That's the other thing too. If someone's listening to this that's never been to Disney World or Disneyland, Disneyland first. It's a lot more convenient. Being able to go through the parks, it's easier to understand and get a grasp of. Unless you're me trying to find Galaxy's Edge, but they're just you get a. It's an easier way to experience Disney. So I always tell people if you've never done Disney, go to California first. And it's not even just for the nostalgia going to the original park. It just is easier. You can take an Uber from the airport to your hotel and never need a car or transportation again. You can walk if you get one of the hotels that's within walking distance, which is so many of them. You can just walk everywhere. You can walk between the parks. You can walk to your hotel. There's plenty of food inside and outside the park. You never have to leave that little Anaheim block and everything, and you can experience the parks and get an easier grasp of them before you ever come out here. Because when you come out here, you got to figure out transportation between parks, you got to figure out the weather, you got to figure out a lot of things. That it's just Disney World's a whole nother gauntlet.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I think we just have some rapid fire questions if you're ready for that. A couple just
Sure thing.
pick some of your favorites. Okay. I'm just going to run through a few of these here real quick. First one, what's your favorite land between all? I mean, we can do all the parks here for these. Your favorite land from all the parks?
I'm gonna have to go with Cars Land. I just love the vibe.
For sure. Yep. Totally agree there. Favorite ride?
So it it's a toss up because my favorite ride in both parks both coasts is Guardians. I love Mission Breakout out there, and I love Cosmic Rewind here. So honestly, just Guardians.
It's exactly our answer too. Favorite?
We both
Yep.
answered the same.
Favorite Disney character?
Favorite character, like that's in the parks.
Just any Disney character is fine at this point. Yeah.
Okay. We'll go with Baymax. He used to be in our park. He's going to be in yours soon. I love Baymax. It's just like they made Disney and Iron Man into a lovable character. So yeah, Baymax.
Nice. And we'll just say Magic Kingdom on either side, Disneyland or Magic Kingdom. Where do you rope drop?
If I'm rope dropping out there, I would rope drop like Indy, just because it gets crazy. Out here, if I'm rope dropping, Seven Dwarfs.
And then last one, do you have a favorite Disney memory?
It's going to be very recent, and just very unique, but just like the first thing that really kind of came into my head is just, if anyone knows my content, we've been blessed to, through this community, meet people who are club members and get to go to Club 33. My wife pulled off the impossible this year, and we just did Club 33 for my 33rd on my 33rd. So not even like the day after, a day before. So we'd been there before. It's an incredible experience to go there anytime, but just doing that on my birthday with the friends that we have out there. And she surprised even further. She had friends from this coast and friends that live in other states that we see every time they come to Disney World or Disneyland. She had people from all over managed to make it out there to be part of that group. So that definitely was a very special Disney memory for me.
Sounds incredible.
That's amazing. Yep. Well, Cole, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We'll be sure to link all your contact info so anyone can find you in the show notes or YouTube description, wherever people are listening or watching. I think that does it for this episode.
All right. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. It was really nice to meet you. And I loved listening to your stories and your opinions between Disneyland and Disney World. Do you kind of have a final overview of which one you kind of leans more to what you like more than the other?
I like to remain a little neutral. If anyone's an avid follower of my content, they know when I'll give Disneyland. I'll give Disneyland crap every now and then, but I'll give Disney World crap. I'll say Disneyland's better. I'll say Disney World's better. I like to play both sides of it a little bit because I know my following is both coasts, and I don't ever want to just have the opinion of one coast that someone may not understand. So I say they're pretty evenly matched. It really just depends on where I'm in and where I am and what I'm doing on who I give the victory to and what category.
Love that.
This has been another episode of Planning the Magic. We'll see you real soon.